Hello, and welcome to our latest Finovate interview. I'm David Penn, Research Analyst with Finovate. Joining us today are Christian Lewis, he's the Client Director of Financial Services with Unqork, and Joe Lichtenberg, he's the Global Head of Product and Industry Marketing with InterSystems. Today, we're going to discuss recent trends in financial services, some of the challenges that companies in this space are facing, and how the partnership between Unqork and InterSystems represents a path forward. Before we begin, perhaps each of you could elaborate a bit on the roles that you play with your respective firms, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. Let's start with you, Christian.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Christian Lewis. I'm a Client Director of Financial Services on Unqork. Really, what I'm focused on is helping some of the world's largest financial services firms accelerate their digital transformation with the power of no code. In my role, I've supported my clients in launching a wide set of financial services applications and also in guiding citizen development best practices and frameworks using the Unqork platform.
Excellent. Joe, yourself.
Thanks, David. Hi, it's great to be here. I'm Joe Lichtenberg. I'm responsible for global product and industry marketing initiatives here at InterSystems. And if you're not familiar with our company, we're a data management software company. And our software is behind some of the most data and analytics intensive applications in the world, especially across financial services. And again, it's great to be here, David.
Excellent. Great to have you both with us as well. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. We don't have a ton of time, so let's go ahead and quite a bit to cover. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What are some of the trends that you both are seeing right now in financial services relative to some of the work that you're doing? And Christian, Joe, I'm sorry, let's stay with you.
Okay. So obviously there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of innovation happening. I would say the two big trends that we're seeing right now. One is in terms of gaining access to enterprise-wide siloed data for a variety of different initiatives. For example, what some firms call Business 360 or business management reporting, getting accurate visibility and being able to run different types of analytics on data that currently is siloed across the organization. Also for customer 360 and enterprise risk. And then the second bucket is around a whole set of initiatives that are geared towards improving operational efficiencies. So, in this bucket of what firms are calling digital transformation. And there's a lot of innovation happening in that space.
Yeah, and I can kind of jump in on some trends across those as well. Like within that risk bucket that Joe is mentioning, we've seen that a lot of businesses have historically been managing the types of tools within platforms that lead to a lot of manual effort, which can help to a certain extent, but later requires investment around some technology platforms that can support a bigger ecosystem around the risk tools. And for those that typically have invested, it's around their risk and control libraries, their risk and control assessments, issues and incidents, BCP, and so on. And a lot of banks now are starting to recognize that there's a wealth of data and potential predictive analytics that can be leveraged to curb those future risks across a lot of different trends, such as vendor risk. So imagine like the seasonality of vendor KPI issues and trends, people risk, understanding the health of an organization, and then being able to even flag potential turnover risk and capacity issues in critical areas of your firm. That's a really interesting space that we're seeing a lot of. And then all of this really right now is impossible when that information is siloed across different tools, and even harder for folks to access with a typical business user when they're just trying to kind of find the data, but they don't have the engineering background and they've got to like log that ticket in order to get that data.
I think two of the big issues around what Christian is seeing, and we're working obviously closely with Unqork as well, around latency and agility. So one around latency, being able to access the data from across the organization, and even from sources outside the organization, without waiting, for a week or even 48 hours or 24 hours. So understanding what's happening in the moment. And then the second is around agility. So business requirements are changing. The data is changing, but the uses of the data are changing. And getting information, always triggers more questions and more initiatives. So especially around cutting down on the latency of the information and allowing organizations to react more quickly and become more agile are really at the top of the priority list in terms of what we're seeing at the moment.
Truly, just the challenge and opportunity of data, really, really an important aspect of what's going on.
Yep.
I'd also like to talk a little bit more, expanding on the topic of agility. Some of the things I think also, Christian, that you hinted at in terms of folks having the resources they need to be able to combat some of these challenges. I wonder if we could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think what we've all seen, especially as of late with the pandemic, folks are able to work remotely, and it's actually made it much more challenging to hire talent, because not only are you running the risk of not being able to kind of pull in the new folks that might want to work at your company, but you've also got the retention side of things where folks have offers that they never may have had in the past. Because of this, there is a bit of a shortage of technical talent, and like platforms typically like Unqork that actually abstract code from the day-to-day of building software help to curb some of that. But at the same time, there's also this concept of being able to develop systems and understand software in a scalable fashion. And we see this quite a bit. Like when you think about client onboarding, as soon as the pandemic hit, a lot of companies were at risk of not being able to run their business because they were no longer able to do anything in person. So this impact of the pandemic required a lot of banks to act quickly and build solutions. And without the technical talent, they were faced with quite a bit of challenge in order to actually service their customers throughout the whole life cycle, from KYC to KYB, agent servicing, and even customer servicing aspects as well.
Yeah, we see that obviously as well. You know, in terms of shortening the development process and becoming more agile. You know, the applications and the initiatives are complex, right? And so there's a lot in terms of business process and orchestration, but there's also a lot in terms of being able to easily connect to the data sources and the production applications and the legacy applications that are housing the information and the data in a rapid manner and in an easy manner. And you know, it's not only the production applications, but it's also, you know, there's a long history of integration platforms and data warehouses and data management initiatives and technologies that are also holding that data. And so those are important sources of information from across the organization to be able to fulfill the types of initiatives that Christian is talking about in terms of increasing agility and providing business value more quickly. And that's always been the case, but especially now, you know, in the context of this pandemic that we're in, right? It's accelerated a lot of these initiatives we're seeing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned the idea of business value, and I think that might be a great opportunity to talk a little bit more about the partnership between InterSystems and Unqork, again, as a way of helping companies understand some of these challenges and, of course, more importantly, to deal with and manage some of these challenges as well.
Yeah, it's really a fantastic partnership. And we've been working with Unqork now for at least a year or so and solving really interesting problems for our joint customers. And so, you know, if you think about the presentation layer and the business logic layer and being able to use, you know, this very agile no-code environment that Unqork provides, and then a tight integration with InterSystems data platform technology that leverages, it's really an exciting new concept, this modern concept of an enterprise data fabric, where it's this dynamic bi-directional data layer that connects the logic and the orchestration layer and the business logic layer with the backend data sources in a dynamic real-time manner. So this tight connection between these two technologies and these product lines. And we put a lot of work into integrating these two technologies, it really checks all the boxes in terms of what's required for building out these applications. So it's a very strong partnership. Christian, I don't know if you'd like to build on that from your perspective as well.
Totally. I really think the fact that InterSystems basically develops this entire data fabric that you can connect Unqork to, it really empowers folks from business analysts to engineers to even folks within the business itself to develop applications entirely with no code. So some of the things that we typically find folks creating: client acquisition and servicing portals. So think everything from the applicant experience down to the agent who is servicing the customer. That can be created with Unqork and could directly connect to all those systems through InterSystem. So automation of operations. Think end user computing replatforming, exception hubs, and overall case management. There's many times in a bank where you've got a manual process and you start using an Excel macro in order to solve it. In reality, you can actually start taking Unqork, you can replatform it, make it auditable, make it secure, put it into the proper SDLC, and you can actually connect to those data sources you never would have been able to directly connect to with, and it's done through InterSystems. And then finally, things like marketplaces to connect to third-party providers, and of course, risk management systems such as incident management, risk aggregation, L1, L2, L3, issue resolution, and even more. You really can build anything on Unqork. And one of the most powerful pieces about it is connecting to all those data sources with the partnership through InterSystems as well.
And so just to summarize, the net benefit to our customers is much faster time to productivity, time to production, with much fewer development resources. So time is scarce, their development resources are scarce. So, how can they get as much done as possible in the shortest amount of time with the development staff that they have?
Excellent. I think that was a very, very valuable sum up because it definitely touches on, again, some of the major trends and challenges that we've been able to discuss a little bit today. I'm afraid that is all the time that we have. Very, very fascinating conversation. Joe and Christian, thank you very much for providing it. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, have a great day and a wonderful week. Thanks again.